In June of 2021, I'm sure you saw a video of a man being arrested at a Loudoun County School Board meeting. He was a plumber. His name was Scott Smith. He was taken out by sheriff's deputies with a bloody lip. He was arrested for disrupting the meeting. This became an iconic moment for so many people frustrated with the direction of school boards across this country. And it actually stirred the Biden administration to create an investigative unit at the FBI to look into parents who were protesting at these meetings as potential domestic terrorists. But people didn't know the real story behind why Scott Smith was so upset at that meeting. You see, at that meeting, they were debating a transgender policy like happens in so many school board meetings across this country, a transgender policy that would have allowed men, young men in their teens who identify as girls to invade the private space of a girl's restroom. You see, Scott Smith, that plumber who was arrested that night, just weeks before, his own daughter had been sexually assaulted by a young man wearing a skirt in the girls' room at Stonebridge High School in Loudoun County. He was there that night so that he could warn other parents and he could speak directly to the elected officials, the school board members who allowed this policy to happen and wanted to implement that policy going forward. Well, yesterday we had a report from a grand jury who's looking into this entire incident, and we have more details about what really happened and what this school board and the school system knew. This is something that can be taken to every single school system in this country. Joining us now is that man, Scott Smith, a courageous fighter on behalf of his daughter, on behalf of his family, on behalf of his community. And frankly, Scott, I think you're fighting on behalf of parents in this entire nation who could be faced with the exact same thing. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to, first of all, before we get into some of the details of this school board or what we learned from the grand jury, I want you to just fill people in on what happened. You were arrested. You were, in fact, convicted. You're appealing that now, and you actually have lawsuits now going against the school board. Do you not?
Well, we have not filed our Title IX lawsuit yet. We were waiting
Okay.
for the grand jury to release its report. It's been done for quite some time. We just didn't want to show our cards until they did. So now that the hand dealt,
But meanwhile, the prosecutors in Loudoun County, they still and the school board, they pressed charges. They saw you as the problem. They saw you as the criminal.
yeah, they still see me as the criminal. I have an appeal to go through next month. I've been fighting for a year, to clear my name. John Tigas has as well.
Yeah.
I got Buddha recused off of my appeal though. So now that we've got the courts reset, the way they should be, we feel that there's going to be a positive outcome here real soon.
Yeah, Buddha Berberai is the Soros-backed Commonwealth's attorney in Loudoun County, Virginia, and she will no longer be overseeing this case because of her political bias, according to a judge. All right, a couple of things that was revealed in this grand jury report that is still impaneled and still ongoing. There was a teacher days before the sexual assault occurred, a teacher's aide who wrote a department chair warning about this young man, warning about his inappropriate touching of other girls. And there was a red flag there. And she was actually not only ignored, but her motives were questioned. It was alluded to that she might be transphobic. Did you know about that before this report?
No, we didn't know about that. That was actually probably the one single thing that came out of this report that we were unaware of. I would say almost everything else, it was no shock. That was.
But this tells you a little bit about the mentality in school systems and within school administrators, where if an adult in charge in a supervisory position as a teacher or teacher aide sees something that they believe is inappropriate, if the person in question is in some way identifying as a different gender or gender binary or what have you, all bets are off. I guess your suspicions are unwarranted. If you have suspicions about that person's behavior, you're transphobic, you're a bigot.
Correct. I mean, that's ultimately what they tried to do to me, and they're still trying to do to me. If you read it in the report, they're trying to say that, I created this and, went to the school causing this. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I want to get into that part. That when you learned of the assault against your daughter, you went to the school, they called the police on you. They had you arrested. They tried to counsel students if they had, about the trauma they may have experienced in seeing you getting arrested. And yet, meanwhile, the rapist was still at large. They didn't know where the actual person who had committed the assault was. They seemed more focused on you.
Yeah, they were. So, but one of the reasons, I was going irate in the school building is I, one, asking why there's not an ambulance here for my daughter. Two, where are the police? And three, where is the rapist? And they told me
Right.
they couldn't find him. And I was saying, find him, lock the school down, do something, find this guy. I'll find him. You want me to find him? And then the police had to come.
Yeah, and there's a lot of emails back and forth about messaging, about what to communicate to the parents at Stony Bridge High School, and none of it actually acknowledges the reality of what happened. It seems like if it wasn't a coordinated cover up, which is what the grand jury found, it certainly seems like damage control was the priority here. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, it was damage control, but it was also trying to protect their 80/40 policy, which I didn't even know what it was. They're trying to say, it's so stupid. But
The 80/40 policy is the transgender policy that was trying to be pushed for bathrooms and locker rooms so that transgender students can be in a girl's room, basically. A boy could be in a girl's room where this occurred. And some of these emails actually flag that this assault is related to 80/40 policy. In other words, let's keep it quiet because it's going to mess up our agenda.
exactly. And basically, Loudoun County Public Schools trying to, push their perversion and sexualize our kids is more important to them than, protecting our kids and doing the right thing. And it's still going on to this day, right now.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, this is Salem, just to keep everyone up to speed. He was eventually moved to another high school. He assaulted another girl at that school, and nobody there was warned. No one had a heads up about it. You'd think parents would be notified about a child who has a history of this. Can we go back to that school board meeting night, though, the infamous evening? They were debating this policy during that meeting, and Scott Ziegler, the superintendent of schools, claimed that he had no knowledge of any sort of incident that occurred in any of the restrooms or private areas with regard to this policy. That was just an outright lie, wasn't it?
Outright lie. Outright lie. And it's such a big lie that, how he's still employed and still in charge of one of the biggest school systems in the United States. Unbelievable.
He just got a raise, in fact. Scott Smith, that night, they tried to clear the room. They didn't want any more public commentary, and that's when things got a little messy with you. What was going through your mind? What did you want to say that night that they arrested you?
Well, I went there to listen. I went there to see, what the hell was going on. I'd heard about all this stuff, and now I'm involved in it. And it was all the first speakers, were all talking, for the policy and how there's no danger and this and that. And it was just infuriating me, and then the school board didn't want to hear anything from us. It was obvious. So they shut it down. And why they shut it down, a radical parent, chose to target me and my wife, and, the rest is national history.
We only have a minute left here. What this grand jury is still impaneled. Attorney General Jason Miyares of Virginia is overseeing it personally. What do you want to happen here? Do you see crimes that need to be prosecuted?
Yeah, I see crimes of criminal neglect or endangerment on our children in the school system. My message to Jason is simply this, thanks for doing this investigation, but put some teeth into it, man. If you want some change, put some teeth into it. Without any indictments or making anybody accountable, this was just all a waste of time and taxpayers' money.
Like I said, Scott Smith, I truly appreciate you speaking out. I know that it isn't easy, and hopefully this will come to a good conclusion soon, and we'll keep following the story for you. More to come on O'Connor Tonight.